On the next episode of Shannon Ayers Speaks,
we want to welcome Mr. Ruben Studdard to Hello Beautiful.
My brother took me to a restaurant that was like one of his favorites, and my episode came on while we were in the restaurant. They were watching American Idol in the restaurant. Yeah, everywhere I go, people are like, "I'm the reason why you won." Like my 22 votes is what put you over the top. What I learned from the experience of being on The Biggest Loser is that you can change how you look. Mm-hmm. But if you're a bad person, right, that won't change. So the first thing that people need to do is self-reflection on the type of person they are, how they treat people.
For some people, that's life-changing.
Right.
A kind word, remembering their name. Like you said, if it's the light guy, maybe this is not where he wants to be in his career, but he knows it's a stepping stone. Maybe you just calling his name gives him just a little bit extra confidence to go after his dreams or pursue.
That's what my song says. It's the little things that only I know. Oh, those are the things that make you mine, all mine. People's feelings are more important than what they actually say.
Yes. I want to know your take on what it means to define self-love. We want to welcome Mr. Ruben Studdard to Hello Beautiful. Welcome, Ruben. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me.
It is indeed a pleasure. When I mentioned to my family that I was going to be interviewing you, I started getting all kind of crazy texts. Tell him we voted for him 3,000 times and we did this. Oh my goodness, my mama was carrying on. Listen, Ruben Studdard is a household name.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh. Everybody loves Ruben. I mean, we know you're talented. That's a given. But I think the thing that people appreciate most about you is a genuine sincerity and someone that's not necessarily caught up, but is really more gracious with your own talent. So you have so many fans.
That's a blessing.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it definitely is. When Gladys Knight called you the Velvet Teddybear, right? So mm-hmm. I'm just, you're going to be the Velvet Teddybear for the rest of your life, right?
Which is fine. I definitely don't have any problems with taking on or having to have taken on that name from Miss Gladys.
Oh, I mean, how was that for you?
It was really the experience of American Idol was a whirlwind. But for me, the biggest takeaway every week was the opportunity to meet so many great musicians and singers that had, paved the way for me to even be in the position that I was in at that particular time. So just having to have the opportunity for Gladys Knight to hear me sing was enough payment for the time that I waited outside, on my chance to audition,
Oh, I can imagine. Now, how long was the wait?
It was pretty long. I mean, we got there on, let's see, I went the week before, 2 weeks before I auditioned for Randy, Paula, and Simon, and I auditioned in Nashville, and I made it through that. And then my brother brought me back 2 weeks later to audition for Randy, Paula, and Simon. And then when I made that, I had to wait another month. And then we went to Hollywood, and that was about maybe 200 people in that group.
Gosh, wow.
And then, you go through that process, and then you make the top. At that point, it was top 24, I think it was. So I made that group, and then we had to wait again. So I had to go home and not tell anybody that I had made it on television. Mm-hmm. Because the non-disclosure agreements were serious at that time. And so People didn't know I was actually on, like, me and my brother went to Atlanta it used to be this restaurant out there called, what was the name? I can't remember. My brother took me to a restaurant that was like one of his favorites. And my episode came on while we were in the restaurant. They were watching American Idol
Really?
in the restaurant. Yeah.
Okay, now you're Ruben Studdard from Alabama, down home boy, just Ruben. What is that like to look up and say, that's me?
It was a very humbling experience, you know what I mean? Because we had waited so long for, and it wasn't like the episode of me being in the top 24. It was like the first rounds of the audition process that came on. So it was actually great because I think um having to have wanted to have that job for so long and to finally see myself almost in a place where I could have it was just amazing.
Wow. I can only imagine when we think about all of us just as kind of everyday Joe, just everyday down to earth people. For you, self-image wise, when we see these people on TV and in Hollywood and we look at them as like larger than life. And
Right.
so then you as Ruben Studdard, that, just neighborhood guy, down to earth, to find yourself in that place, would you have ever expected in that moment to be here? I mean, household name. Anybody, any and everybody, mainstream, cross, everybody knows who Ruben Studdard is.
I did believe that, and the reason why I say it is because I had prayed for it so much as a youth, adolescent, and young adult that I believed that God was going to do it. I just didn't know how it was going to happen. I honestly thought, because prior to American Idol, I was in a gospel group called God's Gift, and we thought we were like the next commission. And when we broke up, like, I thought, like, man, that was my shot, because we had like a lot of record companies looking at us, and we did like a lot of major showcases and stuff. And I was like, man, that was my shot. And then um, after that, I kind of just went about going, just singing with my band and doing other stuff. And American Idol never really crossed my mind. I just knew that I thought that the band that I was in, somebody was going to come to look to Birmingham, Alabama, see this band. Because, my band and PJ Morton's band, we played together all the time.
Really?
So we would do co-shows everywhere. PJ was in a band called Freestyle Nation that my friend Alvin was the bass player for.
Oh,
And
wow.
Alvin was also in my band. So we did these shows together all over the South. And I was like, well, our bands are getting pretty hot. Like, people are gonna, like, want to hear us. And then all of a sudden I was on American Idol.
Wow. That had to be surreal.
Yeah,
Um,
it was.
when I look at you and I look at Fantasia and I look at Jennifer Hudson and
Mhm.
Clay Aiken and Chris Daughtry and all of these people that we saw come through American Idol. And I remember that particular season, I was
Mhm.
in Japan. We were
You
living
were
in
where? I'm sorry, you were where?
Japan.
Japan. Okay.
Yes, as I know you were born in Frankfurt, Germany.
I was.
Your dad was Army, right?
That's correct.
Yeah. Now, how long were you guys overseas?
I came home, I think maybe 6 months after I was born. My mom came home shortly after I was born. So I didn't go back to Germany until I was Ruben.
Now, wait, now, how was that, knowing that you
it
were born
was
here
it
and
was
then
it was
coming back to
cool.
Brooklyn?
Actually, I didn't go for a concert. I went because I was in Copenhagen
Okay.
recording. I was recording with it's a group over there that had a lot of hits in the States, writing group. And so PJ and I actually went there to write songs for my album. And I
Wow.
was like, I gotta go to Frankfurt. Like, I'm too close
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
not. So yeah.
Yeah. So my daughter was born in Japan, and then my
Okay.
son was born in Iceland. And so
Wow.
we want to take them back someday so that they can see, where they were born. And At that time, during American Idol, my husband was
Mhm.
deployed to Iraq.
Okay.
And when I tell you, and I can remember because my girls were little, I was sitting there with my phone and then talking with my family back in the States, was like, okay, everybody dialing in. And listen, we're going to take full credit for your win.
Yeah. So Japan was actually the first place I went internationally after I won the show, because we were signed to RCA Sony. So the Sony division of RCA was like, we got to get them here.
Wow.
So I went there, and surprisingly, the thing that surprised me the most was how many Japanese Americans were the DJs.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so because when we got there, of course I didn't, speak any Japanese, but we got to the radio station, everybody was like, "Yeah, I'm from San Diego. I'm from such and such." And I was like, "Oh, okay, cool."
Felt like you were home, right?
Yeah.
Wow, man, listen. I tell you, I think if I read correctly, I think you beat Clay by 1,340 votes.
I have no idea how many votes it was. I'm just glad I won.
Listen, look, my family, we're gonna selfishly take credit for all that. Look, for every vote ahead that got you, we
know what? It's so funny because everywhere I go, people are like, "I'm the reason why you won." Like my 22 votes is what put you over the top.
Well, look, but they're not the real deal. We're the real deal.
Okay, cool.
So since I got it on recording, we're gonna take full credit. How about that?
Okay, that's perfect.
No, I mean, really, Ruben, to come to fast forward this many years and to still be relevant and to still, like I said, be a household name. And like I said, your talent, there's no question. But what's really synonymous with your name is really your personality and who you have purported yourself to be. And you're still the same guy that we saw from the beginning. Because you can see different celebrities, how start out one way and end up another way, but you
Right.
stay true to who you are. What keeps you grounded?
I honestly think in the beginning of my career, it was my brother.
Okay.
My,
That's Kevin.
and to be perfectly honest, like there were a lot of times where I felt myself feeling myself. And my brother was like, "Hey man, don't make me put you in a chokehold and body slam you." Like,
That's like family to keep it real.
He's like, "I'm still your big brother. I don't care how many people love you. I will still jack you up." You know what I mean? Like, so I really attribute that to him. And honestly, if it's in you, it'll come out of you. Like whatever is in you comes out. You know what I mean? So I am the same person most of the time. And I think, at the end of the day, like, it's nothing wrong with celebrating yourself. Like it's okay as long as you're not putting other people down in the process.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I've seen, I saw this one interview where someone was trying, and I wanted to mention their name, but it's like you could tell they were kind of trying to stir up stuff between you and Clay, you know.
Right.
And I tell you, I had the utmost respect for you before then, and I had even more respect for you because you didn't even get out of the way. You just basically respectfully said, no, 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 that's my brother. You know,
Right.
that spoke volumes.
Thank you.
That honestly, it spoke volumes. My son is a really great athlete, but
Mhm.
kind of like your brother, mama and daddy gonna tell you the truth, bro.
Right.
We're gonna tell you the truth because we want you to be the best part of you, and that's
Right.
what we want you to show to the world and showcase to everyone, and be humble
Absolutely.
and be grateful. So when I look at your talent, I mean, like I said, your voice, um, I flying without wings. And I'm telling you, I think everybody was sitting there with tears. We were just sitting there with tears rolling. We were giving you a hug, and we're just sitting there like, oh my gosh. I mean, your voice. I was looking at some videos. This was actually, I think, last year sometime. So Natalie Cole,
Hmm.
of course, was just one of my all-time favorites. That is the one person I did not get to meet in person that I would have actually loved to have seen her live. Uh,
Right.
But when I saw you singing with Natalie Cole, I
Mhm.
mean, Natalie Cole, how was that experience?
You know, it, there are certain people that you meet in your life that have impact on you in certain ways. And she most definitely was one of those people.
Mm,
She, by way of her actions, taught me how to be classy at all times in all situations. Because I performed with Natalie really early on in my career, and we, because of David Foster, I had the opportunity to go on tour with her several times, and to watch the way that she handled herself. um the way you feel about her is the way you should feel about her. She was class personified. And I think that goes to, I mean, because her, and we had a connection because her father is from Alabama. So she, we first met, the first thing she wanted to talk to me about was her experiences in Montgomery, Alabama. And, getting it going, to see her cousins and her aunt and all that stuff. So we had a connection because of that. But after that, we really built a friendship. Like, she was like the one person that I would be sitting with my cousins and my phone would ring and they'd be like, "Man, did your phone say Natalie Cole?" Like, "Yeah, that's Miss Natalie, man." And we would, like, she would literally like just be checking in, like making sure I was okay. Like, and she gave me a lot of advice on how to deal with people that work in the industry. Like, I will forever cherish my relationship that I had with her.
Wow. So when you met her for the very first time, like walking,
Mhm.
what was that like?
It was surreal because she knew who I was.
Wow.
Like, that to me was always the thing that kind of like sticks out to me when I met people that I held in such high esteem, is that they would be like, "What's up, Ruben?" And I'm like, how do you know who I mean, but because the show American Idol was so insulary, or they insulated us so much, we never really got a chance to know how big the show was until we were off the show.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like, we didn't, the first time we ever got a chance to see a fan experience was after, when we went home for our like the home things that they tape when you go to your home. Like, I didn't know that Birmingham or wherever we went was going to be that crazy. Like, I was just like, oh, we're on. But that's the difference between being on cable and network television. Everybody has Fox.
Right, right.
you know
So when they were coming back to Birmingham to kind of do your home sessions, how was that for people that just know you as everyday Ruben?
I think it was weird for them too. Like, I think it took some getting used to. It especially took some getting used to for my like very close family members, like um going to dinner and stuff, and not, being able to sit without people coming over, or because in their mind, like, my older cousins are like, "It's just Chris," you know. So for them, it's like, it took them a while to kind of like understand, like, my life was different,
Wow, that
and
that
especially in Birmingham, in a city that had never, like now is different because we've had several high ranking American Idol finalists from Birmingham. Like, we had Bo Bice, we had Taylor Hicks, and Taylor won, and then, Bo was second place. So we've had several people from here and people are kind of cool now,
mhm.
but then it was pandemonium.
Now you're still in Alabama, right?
Yeah, I still live in Alabama.
So how is that for you now? With can you just go any place
Yeah,
and just be regular Ruben?
I made it a point very early on to not put myself in jail at home.
Yeah,
Like, like I was like, people can act however they want to act. I still need to go to the grocery store.
Right, right.
I still need to go to Walmart. Like I just have to do it. You know what I mean? And the more I do it, the more people are like, oh, that's just Ruben.
Wow. So for
Yeah.
you, being kind of thrusted on the big stage, and of course, like I said, being dubbed the Velvet Teddy Bear, and everybody just falling in love with Ruben, what were some of both the highs and lows of just that experience as far as the industry, with the Ruben that goes home and is kind of just sitting with himself, as opposed to being in the limelight?
Um, the low parts of the industry are really just business stuff. It's really not like there is no like I am always thankful to get it to do a job that I love to do. Like I love singing. So it doesn't really feel like work for me when I'm on stage. Does that make sense?
Makes a lot of sense.
I think the low parts are just really understanding that everybody doesn't have your best interest at heart in business.
Sure.
And that's just for anybody. Like, it's not, you know, just music where that's a thing. That's with everybody doesn't have your best interest at heart, period. You know what I mean? And what you have to learn very quickly is that you have to handle your business first, and then you could do the rest of that stuff later.
Sure. Did you find yourself losing friends and maybe even some loved ones?
Nah.
Good.
The people that were my friends are my friends now. Like I didn't, I didn't, people were cool.
No, that's
I think because people have to measure their expectations of what the situation is going to be for them.
sure.
Like people levy their expectations of you based upon what they would do in a situation.
That makes a lot of sense.
Right, but in reality, nobody knows what they would or wouldn't do because they're not in the situation.
Right. Right.
So, I tried to stay level as much as I possibly could with people that were my homies before I was on the show.
That's pretty awesome. And I
Yeah.
tell you, even sitting here talking with you it's refreshing for you to still be true to form. Even after all of these years, feeling like I know you. You know what I mean? Like anybody that you can just sit down and just have a good conversation with.
Right.
And that's what I'm telling you. And I only told my family, my immediate family. I'm from a large family. So it's
Right.
a second to the oldest of 11. So with my siblings, we have this kind of group chat thing, and my sister was sending me all kind of craziness. She did every variation of Velvet and Velvety Teddy Bear and telling this, telling that. It was hilarious. It was hilarious. So I will say, Shadon told me. She said, "Tell Ruben I said hello."
Tell Shadon I said hello back.
I sure will. I sure will. One of our reigning themes for this new season is defining self-love. And
Right.
so Hello Beautiful is about encouraging women and girls to understand their beauty by design and know their worth. And so we are happy to say that you are our very first male interview for Hello Beautiful. So we want to know your take on what it means to define self-love.
Defining self-love is pretty much self-explanatory. Like you have to, like, in order to love anybody else adequately, you have to care about you first. And that is, I think a lot of people um, neglect themselves mentally, physically,
Mhm.
emotionally, all kinds of things. And so the most important thing that I would say is just make sure that you're okay with who you are. You know what I mean? Like whether you're big, small, I think a lot of people have uh the way society is now is, the way we look is always like the most important thing for people. as opposed to the kind of person you are. You know what I mean? Because you know, I mean, here's the thing. What I learned from the experience of being on The Biggest Loser is that you can change how you look.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're a bad person,
right,
that won't change. So the first thing that people need to do is self-reflection on the type of person they are, how they treat people. You know what I mean? Like how you talk to people, like all of that stuff matters. And then you can, go to the gym or get your hair done, or, go, people like even little things like teeth, get braces, like, like anything to make yourself feel outwardly better. But the most important thing is the heart and how you treat people.
and I'm so glad you said that, because you can dress anything up.
Right.
You can make anything pretty. Uh,
Right.
one of the things that I've always maintained, I have seen people who at first glance would seem really attractive or appealing, male or female, would be, really nice looking until they open their mouth. And what people don't realize is for you to initially look a certain way and then for you to either not have a good heart or not treat people the right way, it makes it that much easier to highlight your flaws,
Right.
highlight everything that's wrong with you, as
Right.
opposed to somebody who may not be, on the big billboard and the poster, but then all of a sudden you hear them and you hear their heart.
And like this is something that I struggled with at the beginning of my career. I used to be really quiet
Mm-hmm.
and reserved around people that I didn't know, which made it very difficult for me to do interviews well.
Sure.
Which made my interaction with my fan base kind of weird, because to go from nobody knowing you to millions of people knowing you and to be bombarded with that energy is a lot to take in. And so I would just always be quiet. Like I wouldn't be, but people took that as me having an attitude.
Really?
So now I meet people with a smile. And I had to understand why people, because I'm a big guy.
Mm-hmm.
So I can be intimidating when I don't have a friendly look on my face. So once I learned that was something that was a stumbling block for others that didn't know me, I tried my best to work on that. So a lot of times, people don't even know when they're coming off standoffish or, in a certain way. And that's something that, from my own personal experience, that's something that I had to deal with on my own, because, there was, so many times when, people would come to my manager and be like, man, is he mad? And my manager would be like, nah, he's just chilling.
But let me ask you about that though, because that's something I can personally relate to. So on one hand, people know me as smiling all the time.
Right.
But on the other hand, there are people, if you catch me kind of like in a serious mode or when I'm thinking, I've been told that I look mean.
Right.
And so when people, if you have enough, I have more often than not, people tell me, oh, you have a great smile, that sort of thing.
Right.
So usually I'm on the better side of it. But it
Right.
did concern me when people did tell me that they thought, I look mean or unapproachable, which
Right.
had me just shocked, because I know
Right.
who I am in my personality. I can
Right.
talk about anybody,
Right.
down to earth,
I think for me, it just took me kind of looking at myself and saying, well, put yourself in somebody else's shoes. Because I remember before I was American Idol having weird interactions with people that I considered being famous or a celebrity. And now I never took it upon myself to speak upon it. I just know how it made me feel. And that is, whether it's true or not, people's feelings are more important than what they actually say.
Yes.
To you, you know what I mean? So I want, when I made it a point, especially when I'm on the road. Now I'm making a point to make sure that everybody in the room knows that, you know, I am a friendly person.
Sure. Yeah. I know when I had enough people to tell me that, I mean, it would even get to the point where sometimes I would even look in the mirror, you know, to kind of just look at myself to see what I'm giving off if I just have a straight face or, you know, because it's important. And it speaks volumes to who you are that you
Well,
actually.
I actually thought that my manager was like being like overly concerned. Like he's like, man, people think you're mean. And I was like, what? But you know what I did understand is that I took when we went on this Ruben Sings, the first version of Ruben Sings Luther tour, I watched how people watch me.
Mhm.
So in the same way that people were looking at me, I watched people look at my reactions.
Wow.
And I purposely changed my facial expression one time to see if it would make a reaction in the people in the line, and it did.
Wow.
Like one lady actually turned around and walked away because she saw me frowning.
Wow.
And I was like, you know what? It's something to what he's saying, because I'm not really even cognizant. I'm just tired.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So I've just done a 2-hour concert. I'm not cognizant of how my face is looking. I'm wiping my face off and signing autographs. I'm not really cognizant of the fact that I'm not smiling at this point. And somebody is like, well, maybe he doesn't feel like being bothered, you know?
And I can imagine that. Just imagine being just your regular self and not thinking about those things. And then on the other hand, you have your fans that are expecting for you to be on all the
Yeah.
time. How do you make that adjustment?
Well, I am Ruben Studdard, but I play the character Ruben Studdard on the road. Does
Okay,
that make sense?
kind of, sort of. Tell me a little bit more about that.
So the character Ruben Studdard is what the camera has picked up on, is the bubbly, the kind, the smiling Ruben.
Mhm.
And when you go to a movie, if that's what you expect and you don't get that,
Then you're
then
disappointed.
your experience is different.
Got it.
And so I had to understand that people really, they don't know me. They know the character Ruben Studdard.
Sure. That makes
They
sense.
know the Velvet Teddy Bear. They don't know me. They know the Velvet Teddy Bear. So I wouldn't want somebody to come expecting to get the Velvet Teddy Bear and they get the grizzly
Yeah.
bear.
And you know what? With you, that makes total sense because I will say this. I have met celebrities that, you know, I just absolutely adored and they were just great. And then you kind of meet them in person and then it kind of wanes a little bit. It's like,
Yeah.
oh,
Well, people are people.
sure,
That's the thing, is like you go in expecting people to not be people.
to be that character.
Right. And when they're not playing the
It's
character.
like, how dare you not? I want to
How
love a teddy bear
right,
24/7, right?
right. So but it's fine though. Like, you know, like I said to my brother, I was like, my job doesn't end until I get on the bus.
Right.
When I'm in the venue, this is another thing I learned from Miss Natalie. Miss Natalie made everybody in the venue feel special.
Wow.
Like, she spoke to everybody. When she came in, the tech guy, the this guy, the that guy. And so I started doing that. So, and so much so where I would like, I go to venues now and I remember, like if I've been to a venue before, I remember like, hey, Chris, good to see you. You know what I mean? Like you have no idea how far that goes for people.
Yes.
But it's just something that I've learned to do over the years. And it, you know, like it's with anything, you get better as you do it more.
Sure. And I can imagine because I do the same thing, not that I'm a celebrity, not in that regard, but just different people that would normally kind of fade into the background, you know, that don't think that anybody would notice them. Uh,
Right.
Doing something like Hello Beautiful, and the whole purpose is really wanting women to understand their value, and understand, I don't care what your background is, I don't care what you look like, I don't even care what you think of yourself, to understand that you have value and that you matter. While your salary may not be this, your existence is a contribution. You know,
Right.
everybody feels special. So
Right.
I can only imagine for somebody like you said, for somebody like Natalie Cole to do that and be an example, to exemplify what that is to you as an artist,
Mhm.
something for you to pattern yourself after. So for you to then take that and go into a room and be able to call John or Mary or whomever who wouldn't even think that you would remember their name. I could imagine.
But what you understand, the more you do this job, is that you can't do your job if they aren't happy doing their job.
Right. Yes.
So if the lighting guy isn't happy doing his job and he misses your lighting cue, it'll throw the whole show off.
Sure.
So when I come off the bus, I'm on.
Yeah.
My bus is my home. I don't have to be anybody but me on my tour bus. When I step off the bus, I belong to the public.
Sure. And I think that that's a great attitude to have. And I understand 100% when you talk about that character. And really, it's a little bit more than just a character. What it's saying is that I care that you're a fan of mine. I care. I wouldn't be who I am if I didn't have people to support me and I didn't have people to buy my albums or people to be there at my concerts.
Yeah.
I only
I mean, and my manager also road managed for Patti LaBelle. And I will say this about Mama Pat. She will, like, I remember when I first got started, I was like, man, I got to sign autographs for an hour and a half. She would sit, I went to one of her shows and literally watched her sign autographs for 3 hours.
Mm,
3 hours.
mm.
3 hours. Like let that sink
Class
in. Like that.
Patty.
But can you find a Patty Pie right now? You
Right.
cannot.
Right, right.
You want to know why? Because even if Patty didn't like you, you wouldn't know it
Absolutely. Absolutely.
because of the way she makes you feel when you're in her presence.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And that's something that I think that some celebrities still haven't kind of gotten just yet. And you just never know what somebody may be experiencing in their life, which is another reason why I do this. Because I've had so many people with other people that I've interviewed with different takeaways. One of the reasons why I do this is to humanize celebrities and to humanize them so that people can see they're human, just like you were saying. We got to realize you guys are human beings like anybody else. But to be able to humanize you and to say that I can relate to your experiences, or something that may encourage me in a certain area in my life, for some people that's life changing.
Right.
A kind word, remembering their name. Like I said, if it's the light guy, maybe this is not where he wants to be in his career, but he knows it's a stepping stone. Maybe you just calling his name gives him just a little bit extra confidence to go after his dreams or pursue. And it may seem like, oh wow, that's exacerbating it, but people would really be surprised how the little things can encourage and inspire people to be great.
That's what my song says. It's the little things that only I know. Oh, those are the things that make you mine, all mine. It's the little things.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said. Say that again.
You heard what I said. You heard that.
Oh, really? Okay, now I gotta collect myself. Really? Okay. Okay. I need a moment. All right. This is why we love Ruben. This is why we love Ruben. First of all, I am a happily married woman. It'll be 21 years next month. Let me just get that out there, just to be clear.
Right.
But like I said, your voice just takes you there. It's kind of
Thank
like
you.
that Luther, which I'm sure you've heard 10,000 times. It just
Yeah.
it takes you there. It it
Thank you.
it does.
Thank
This
you.
for me is an honor.
Thank you.
It's an honor and it's a treat. And I look forward to this airing so that people can, I mean, I know you've been interviewed 10,000 times and everybody knows who you are, but still being able to see you on this level and with this being my first time, so we go way back now. We go way back now we friends, we cousin and them and
All
all of
right.
that stuff, especially with you just being right down the street. No, this is awesome.
Well, thank you.
I mean,
Thank you.
I feel honored and I feel humbled. And it also makes me appreciate you that much more. And I also appreciate your honesty because what I gathered from this is that, like I say, you guys see the velvet teddy bear. I do that for you. I do that for you because I care about you as my fans, but I'm also a human being. I have my moments, I have my days, I have some times when I just want to be just Ruben. And
Right.
okay, because all of it is you.
Absolutely.
All of So tell me this. What do you think is to date your greatest accomplishment?
I would have to say winning American Idol for sure. And the reason why I say that is because it gave me an opportunity to do what I had been wanting to do for a lifetime. Like I wanted to be on Kids Incorporated. Like that
Yes,
was my show. You know what I mean? Like I wanted to be on the Disney Channel. I wanted to
yes,
be on Nickelodeon. Like I wanted all of that stuff. And and none of it ever worked. And American Idol was the thing that gave me the platform to do what I love. And it also gave me an opportunity to help other people with their dream. Like it's so many musicians and singers that have sung for me or played with me that are doing more and greater things. Because of American Idol, I was able to start my foundation, which helped young people go to college and major in music like I did, which is something that is extremely important to me, and we're still doing that work. And so that is to me the biggest accomplishment.
yeah. Tell me a little bit about your foundation.
It's called the Ruben Studdard Foundation for the Advancement of Children in the Music Arts. And, we started out as just a scholarship organization, giving scholarships to kids that planned on majoring in music in college, simply because there's never enough money for kids that want to be music majors. Now, I went to college on a football scholarship, but when I stopped playing football, I had to get a music scholarship. And it wasn't like my football scholarship. It was just, you know,
Bare
my
bones.
football scholarship was full. When I say full, books, food, room and board, everything was paid for. When I got my choir scholarship, it was not like that.
Wow.
And so we just try to, give people a little bit of a cushion, whether it's a $500 stipend to get, food or books or, anything. So yeah.
So how would somebody get involved in your foundation, or how do students find out about your foundation?
Well, I think my mom still has our website up. It's called rubenstudderfoundation.org. And this year we did not have our music camp, of course, because of COVID. But we usually have it every year at Birmingham Southern College.
Okay.
And we have kids from 12 years old to 18. They come to the music camp. And then most of the kids that get my scholarship are kids that went through my program.
Okay. Now,
So
is it just for Birmingham, or is it?
no, like we have kids from all over that come, to the camp. And for me, it was important because it gave kids in the rural areas of Alabama an opportunity to come to the city. Like after I did my first camp, I didn't really understand like the importance of giving kids an opportunity to see, and they're on a college campus for 2 weeks.
Mhm.
So like you have to be able to see a thing to want to do. So a lot of the kids had never really thought like I want to go to college, until they were like walking around the college campus with college kids, with their book bags, going to the cafeteria, like, you know, having to be at class at a certain time. Like it's a profound experience. And a lot of my kids are like, you know, while I was on Broadway with Clay last year, one of my kids was in a show across the street.
That is awesome.
Yeah. So, you know,
How
just
does it make you feel?
I felt old first.
I know that feeling.
I was like, man, my mom can't, because my mom was like, you know, such and such is across the street, is because my mom keeps up with these kids. Like my mom is like fully invested in these kids past the camp, you know. And she's like, you
And
know,
she's
such
a
and
school
such.
teacher, right? She was a school teacher.
Yeah.
Both of your parents, right?
Yes. My mom taught first and second grade, and my dad taught auto body collision technology. So she was like, you know, such and such is across the street in this play. And I was like, really? It was, you know, it was great. It was great to really see that what we were doing early, because the guy that was in that play across the street was one of my first camp kids. Like he came to like the first 2 or 3 camps. And so to see him now doing what he does is just, you know, it's amazing. And we have, you know, kids that are teaching in schools, like they're, you know, like 4 of my kids, they have like a jazz band here in Birmingham where they're playing at everything. Like it's just, I'm seeing all of them like mature into like working musicians and, you know, doing the thing that they love. So it's great.
Do you show up at some of their events?
I have.
Unexpected or planned?
Unexpected.
How was that?
You know, I'm sure they were. I was happy to see them. You know what I mean?
No, that's beautiful. I mean, to know that you could have literally and probably did change the trajectory of some kid's life. You
Yeah.
know, growing up in New Orleans, I know we grew up in just the hood.
Right.
I mean, we grew up in the hood and we knew what was all around us.
Right.
Thankfully, you know, my parents, they taught us how to want more out of life and
Right.
just to be a victim of your surroundings. Uh,
Right.
but that there are things that are out there, there are things that are available. And we were blessed and fortunate, but I know a lot of kids that I grew up with didn't make it
Right.
and ended up going another whole route.
And you know, I will say this to my mom and dad's credit. You know, there was a time in my life when I like was trying to do bad stuff, like literally, like because I had a sheltered existence. You know what I mean? And my mom, like I remember my dad, like I got in trouble with some bad kids at my middle school. Now I'm on the debate team. I am in the band, the choir, like, you know, I'm like really straight laced. And all of a sudden, like I just wanted to start hanging with the rough kids, right? So my dad like started substitute teaching at my school.
Oh,
He was like, yeah, like that's not going down, player. I'll be there.
yeah. Now, how was that for you?
It was cool. It was weird and cool.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? Like now that I'm older, I tell him all the time, like, thank you, man.
Yeah.
Cause that could have went a whole nother way.
Thank God for
And
that care enough to say, okay,
yeah,
no, not you.
yeah. And then, you know, my mom had, because she was in the school system, like my dad taught a trade.
Right.
You know what I mean? But my mom was like really, you know, she had her sorority sisters up there, and you know, I really couldn't act up anywhere.
Not
You
even
know what I mean? Yeah.
well, you know, people, so my husband's a JROTC instructor. He's
Right.
retired military. That's actually what brought us here to Georgia. And
Yeah.
so all of my kids were at school with my
Right.
husband. And so they couldn't do stuff they wanted to. And even when they even thought they were trying to, you had other students coming to my husband saying, this one over here is trying to talk to your daughter. This one, yeah.
So my dad, when I was a freshman in high school, my dad made me, I was in the RTC.
Really? How was that for you?
It was, I I tell this story everywhere. So we went to a Braves game,
Okay.
and I'll never forget this as long as I live. So, and this, it made me respect being an American
Mhm.
even more at that point. Like me and some of my friends, we left and went to the bus to get something off the bus. I can't even remember what it was, but I remember we all like had our hats off.
Mhm.
And out of nowhere, this guy that I guess had just came home from one of his tours of duty was like, stop right where you are. And so we stopped and we were looking around like, he was like, where's your cover?
Wow.
And we didn't have our hats on.
Mhm.
And like he dressed us down on
Yeah.
the side of the bus and let us know, like, like you guys are putting on that uniform, respect it.
Yes.
And respect the sacrifice that people are making for you to do to come and march at a parade. Like the reason you're even at the Braves game and march at a parade is because of what we're doing. So respect the uniform. And that from that point on, like I had the utmost respect for people and their sacrifice for our country, even though I wouldn't even be here if it wasn't for like, had it not been for my father being in the service. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, like my son right now is in my husband's class.
Oh my God. Like I'm actually still cool with my old Sergeant Reeser. That's my dude. Like we have so I went to Alabama A&M and we have a big classic here. So every year Sergeant Reeser comes, he tailgates with us. Like he's a fixture at my tailgate every year. Yeah.
I'm sure he's very, very proud.
Yeah.
But and my oldest daughter, she actually went through the JROTC program and she did exceptionally well. My husband, because they're his kids, he's even harder on them. So
Right.
other students wouldn't think that, they're going to get any leeway. And so
Right.
I remember the chief that was there, he's retired now, but when my daughter was there, when I tell you what, you want to talk about respect for the uniform and respect for what it is that they're doing. People sleep on JROTC, but I tell you what,
Yeah.
for kids that are not planning to go on to military, what it does is it teaches them respect. It teaches them respect for country, respect for self. It teaches them leadership skills. It teaches them how to appreciate what they have and also how to purport themselves and understand
Absolutely.
what they're representing.
And that gig line got to be right, straight up and down.
Yes.
Straight up
Yes.
and down.
Yes. Because of the COVID stuff, right? And they're doing a digital learning. My son had to do a video. And I had to sit there and I'm like, you fix this. Yeah, you got it. But they're surviving. I will say, I think we count it a blessing that they could be there in school with dad. So if anything, they get more perks out of it than anything. They get all kinds of lunch and all other kind of stuff coming in daddy's classroom. So no, I mean, just hearing these different things about you and getting to know another side of Ruben, I'm sure is going to be a treat for our Hello Beautiful audience. I am honored to say that you're the first guy for this season that we're interviewing. So
Well, thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
no, it's my pleasure, and I'm hoping we can have you back at another time, just to chat with you a little bit more to see what's going on with you.
I would love that.
That would be awesome. One of the things that we do, we round it up with a word association.
Okay.
So, and everybody always get that look when I say word association, like, oh Lord. But I promise it's gonna be painless.
Nah, you good. Come on, let's do it.
Okay. All right. So whatever pops into your mind. Huffman.
Vikings.
Okay. Superstar.
Luther Vandross.
All right. God's gift.
The beginning.
Okay. Dreams.
Special.
purpose.
Hard to find, but when you find it, it's the best thing that'll ever happen to you.
Beautiful. Church.
Training ground.
205.
My hometown
Okay. Home.
is where the heart is.
Emily and Kevin, 1 and 2.
My mom and dad, just great people.
Yeah. And what about the other Kevin?
My brother, God rest his soul, I miss him.
Clay.
My brother from another mother.
Velvet Teddybear.
Gladys Knight.
And the most important one, Ruben.
Ruben is a work in progress, but always trying to be the best version of himself.
Beautiful. And I'll even just throw an extra one in there. Chris.
Chris is who my family knows.
Awesome. Ruben, this has been a treat.
Well, thank you.
This has been a treat. I thank you for making time to chat with us. And it's always my hope and my prayer that somebody will be blessed and that somebody will be inspired to their greatest selves. And I believe you've done that here for us today. So thank you so much.
God bless you. And I hope that this show exceeds your expectations.
Thank you. I received that. I absolutely received that. So we pray you all the blessings your hands and your heart can hold, and may every place your feet tread will be holy ground, and that you will just continue to go onward and upward.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ruben.
On the next episode of Shannon Ayers Speaks, we are excited to meet the beautiful Lynn Whitfield.